RM Sotheby's is the world's largest collector car auction house by total sales. They are the preeminent market maker of high-quality collector cars and collections, regardless of size or complexity. By working in partnership with the Sotheby's team and its network of 80 offices in 40 countries, RM Sotheby's has established the largest client network of any collector car auction house in the world. Join the RM Sotheby's family by connecting with one of their car specialists at rmsotheby's.com or contact me directly at gstanley@rmsotheby's.com. Hey there, welcome to the Collector Car Podcast. Hey, it's Greg Stanley as always, and I'm talking to you, so that means this must be a Thursday. So as always, thanks for watching, listening. Please like and subscribe. If you're only listening to this audio only, please leave a comment and a rating with your favorite podcast provider. I would really help it out. Usually I don't ask for this, but it does help out greatly. It makes this more of a sustainable project. So I appreciate your support. And I really appreciate those of you that are reaching out personally. I've had a few of you email me directly talking about what you like about the podcast and some of the cars in your own garage. So by all means, reach out to me at any time, Greg at thecollectorcarpodcast.com or gstanley@rmsotheby's.com. And as always, if I can help you with anything, please let me know. That could be an estate sale. It could be a private sale. It could be a consignment for an auction. Whatever, just let me know. Now, this is Thursday. I believe it's the 16th of January. The Miami consignments, actually, all contracts have to be in tomorrow by the 17th. So hopefully you're not hoping to get in, because pretty much that door has shut. Now, as we're talking about ending consignments for Miami, we have the big Arizona sale coming up next week, and I almost forgot to put this on my calendar for the podcast. So I am going to cover some really cool cars with some great pictures here if you're watching on YouTube. I'll start with RM Sotheby's. Obviously, they're the biggest sponsor of this podcast. Some really great cars. And what I'd like to do is I want to cover cars that I think are maybe a market barometer to see how we're going to do, or how the market's going to fare in 2025. I think last year was a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace, partially driven by the U.S. presidential election. Now that that's over, I'm curious to see what happens. So I tried to pick out cars that were maybe more of a barometer, or the really cool cars as well. So not all of these are a barometer car, but it will be interesting to see. So as you listen, tune in the following week, next week, because what I'll do is I will actually update all the cars I covered in this podcast with the actual sales results, and if I have any brilliant commentaries on the price that was realized or not realized. So we are going to move over here and get started. All right, so Arizona Auction Week is actually it's more like 10 days, at least for Barrett Jackson, because they have this is their signature event. So I will cover some cars from Barrett Jackson as well as Bonhams, but obviously I'm going to kick it off with RM Sotheby's. Now, their schedule is as follows. January the 23rd, they have the preview. It's at the Biltmore in Scottsdale, which is an amazing location. The preview on the 23rd. And let's see, they have the live auction the night of the 23rd. That's a Thursday. And then also Friday night. I believe this is the first time, at least in a long time, they've had the auction Friday night. So that will be very interesting to see. So let's get looking at some beautiful cars. All right, the first car up is this incredible 1958 Ferrari 250 GT, long wheelbase, Berlinetta Tour de France TDF. Now, I picked this car because 12-cylinder Ferraris of the 50s and 60s have been soft over the last year and a half or so. So I'm curious to see what this one will do. TDFs are one of my favorite Ferraris of all time. They're absolutely stunning, gorgeous cars. Now, the estimate on this one is $3.5 to $4.5 million. This example was driven in the first round of the 1960 World Supercar Championship in Buenos Aires, where it finished third in class and 11th overall. Now, if you're only listening, this is a beautiful gold color with a tan interior. Stunning car. One of only 28 attractive single louver covered headlight examples built for two-time Italian national road racing champion Casimiro Toselli. Now, I did not pre-read this, so please pardon me if I get some of this wrong. But just a beautiful, beautiful car. Incredible pictures I'm showing now on YouTube. Just stunning in all regards. All right, our next car I just picked because this thing is just badass. Excuse my French there. This is a 1955 Lancia Aurelia B20 GT. It's basically been singerized. So if you like the Porsche Singers, this one has been highly modified and it just looks awesome. Now the estimate on this one, $600,000 to $800,000. It's kind of a dark teal blue. And let's get to the interior here, but it is just so well done. It's been hot rodded. Let's see, it has the original B20 GT body modified to period competition style, and it is stunning. It has Weber carburetors on the engine. It's like a dark bluish aqua interior with tan seats. This one was produced by one of the world's foremost Lancia specialists, an incredible piece of engineering and craftsmanship. Ideal for any number of historic rallies. This would be the perfect rally car, but I just would not want to mess it up and get any sort of rock chips on it because it's a stunning car. There was one of these at Pebble Beach a number of years ago, and I fell in love with it. That was also hot rodded a little bit, and this one reminds me of it. Just a really cool car. One that once you see it, you will never forget it. All right, next on the list is a vehicle I don't believe I've ever covered in 4 years of doing this podcast as a potential collector car, and it is the G-Wagon. Now, this specific one is a 1993 Mercedes-Benz 500 GE 6-liter AMG. The estimate on this one's $125,000 to $175,000. Now, this is offered without reserve. The last limited production pre-merger G-Class model, hand-built, amazing truck. One of only 13 produced, documented by copies of original AMG warranty papers. A gorgeous dark blue metallic over black and gray leather, powered by its numbers matching 6-liter AMG V8, producing 300 horsepower. These are very interesting because this is pre-AMG merger, apparently, which the merger must have been, I believe, a little later for the sport utes, is the way I'm reading this, because at least for the cars, it was definitely by 1993. Now, I'm not a Mercedes expert, so if I have a Mercedes expert out there and I am wrong, please let me know. But again, 1993 Mercedes-Benz 500 GE 6-liter AMG. I picked this one because I know that these have been pretty hot in the private sales market recently, so I'm curious to see what this one does. All right, next is an investment-grade car, the 1962 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Roadster. A lot of times you can see how the market is doing based on how these cars perform in a public auction. The estimate on this one is $1.3 to $1.6 million, red with tan interior. And this is the one to have, in my mind, a superb disc brake roadster, expertly maintained and ready for continued touring and spirited enjoyment. Retains number matching chassis, engine, front axles, body, steering box, and rear axle. Only 3 recorded owners since 1964, acquired by the consignor in 1999, showing fewer than 47,000 miles. Now, what's cool about this car is it does have the factory disc brakes. Now, it makes no mention of the lighter engine block. I believe it was magnesium, which that's okay. Just stunning car. You know, it has almost 50,000 miles on it. This is one I would feel comfortable driving. This would be one of my top 3 cars if I had an unlimited budget. Actually, you know what? I'd have to go with the Gullwing instead of the Roadster. But for touring purposes, everyone loves the Roadster. All right, next at RM Sotheby's Scottsdale sale, we have this 1995 BMW M3. Estimate is $50,000 to $70,000. I love this car. I think that these have been hot for a while, so I'm very curious to see what happens to this car at auction. It is no reserve. Now, single-family ownership from new, showing just under 5,000 miles on the odometer at catalog time. Sought after Dakar yellow exterior over black extended leather interior. Incredibly well optioned with luxury package, heated front seats, power sunroof, onboard computer, and the desirable 5-speed manual transmission. So this is basically everything you want in one of these BMWs. The estimate is $50,000 to $70,000. It would not surprise me at all if this one exceeds the high estimate. Tune in next week to see if I am correct. You know, I should have started calling what I think these cars will sell for. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to call this one at $85,000, exceeding the high estimate, which is $70,000. All right, the next one I picked is a 1957 Buick Century Caballero Estate Wagon Custom. Now, the estimate is $125,000 to $175,000, offered again without reserve. I picked this one because it is a big car from the 1950s. It is a stunning, beautiful car that's been slightly modified. One of the most sought-after 50s wagon with dramatic hardtop styling. Custom teal and white two-tone livery over matching interior. Now this one has a 401 cubic inch nailhead V8 and 4-speed automatic transmission. This is a great highway cruiser. Now let's see, the estimate, like I said, is 125 to 175. I think 50s cars are going to remain soft. This is a stellar example. I'm going to assume that the estimate is right on. I'm going to call this one low in the estimate range. I'm going to say it will hit the low estimate of 125 and go just a hair over it, and it will hammer at $135,000. All right, next I have one of the most iconic cars coming to the RM Sotheby Scottsdale auction, a 1988 Porsche 911 Turbo Coupe. Now the estimate is $150,000 to $200,000. This would be on my list of cars if I had all the money in the world. I was in high school in 1988. I love the whale tail. I love the turbo. Honestly, it wouldn't have to be a turbo. It could be a turbo look variant. But this is what I would want to have, an 87 or 88 or 89, preferably 89 with the 5-speed. So this one's offered without reserve, $150,000 to $200,000 estimate. Exceptionally preserved example of Porsche's iconic 930 Turbo. Retains number matching engine as confirmed by Porsche COA, Certificate of Authenticity. Subject of a multi-page spread in November 2011 issue of Hemmings Sport and Exotic Car. Now, believed to be original paint, which is pretty cool. All right, so what am I going to guess on this one? All right, so this is the iconic 930 Turbo. It's not an 89, so I'm assuming it's got the 4-speed. Beautiful color, red, guards red. I'm going to put this dead center of the estimate range. So the estimate's 150 to 200. I'm going to say this hammers at 175. All right, next is another red sports car, the 2008 Ferrari 430 Scuderia. Estimates 350 to 450. Incredibly well presented with just 673 miles on the odometer at cataloging time. Well optioned with a carbon fiber steering wheel with shift lights, carbon fiber sill plates, special Rosso custom stitching, colored brake calipers, iPod connectivity, specified with a full trim luggage compartment and accompanied by a set of leather luggage. Belt and fluid service completed in November of 2024. So this is not a gated shifter car. So the estimate is 350 to 450. Mileage is a really big deal on these for collectability. I'd want to drive it myself. All right, so because of the mileage, I'm going to put it higher in the estimate range. Estimate range 350 to 450. I'm going to say this hammers for 425. All right, next for you, next gen folks, we have a very cool car here, 1984 Audi Sport Quattro. The estimate on this one's 375 to 475, offered without reserve. Now this one in period was called the F40 Killer, a wild factory blessed sports Quattro. It was ordered new by the Audi Club of North America founder. All right. Federalized and modified for racing as an Audi endorsed entrant, used extensively in competition by Steve Bedore, offered from the Better family's continuous ownership. That's pretty cool. Back-to-back course record-breaking winner of the Ferrari Cup of America's famous Virginia City Hill Climb. All right, very, very cool. These were built for Group B homologation. Very, very cool. Looks like it has some period racing, not officially. So let's see, the estimate 375 to 475. I know these are hot. I knew these are next gen. I'm going to say that this one's still taking a little bit of a break. I'm going to say it's going to hammer under low estimate. It's also white with white interior, which is pretty cool. I'm going to put the hammer price at $350,000. All right, next we have another iconic Porsche, the 1997 Porsche 911 Turbo S. This one is absolutely stunning. One of only 183 examples built for North America. The final and most technologically advanced air-cooled 911 Turbo. Beautiful color combination of arena red metallic over chestnut brown. I love the colors on this one. So arena red metallic is pretty much like a dark maroon. Let's see, this one has everything. Service booklet, window sticker copy, Let's see. Very, very cool car. I picked this one because it's a 911. Obviously, it's a turbo, but also it's an S. Now, the estimate's 475 to 525. S's are very rare. You know, it doesn't mention the mileage offhand. I believe this is a higher mileage example, which explains the 475 versus like a $600,000 low estimate. I want to say the mileage was in the 35,000 mile range. So this is a car you could actually drive. Let's see. Turbo S's are pretty hot. I just saw one somewhere, St. Louis, that was the same mileage, and they were asking over $600,000 on it. So I'm going to say this will eclipse $500,000, but maybe not hit the high. I'm going to say this hammers for exactly $500,000. All right, next we have muscle cars represented by this 1970 Plymouth Roadrunner. Now the estimate on this one's $80,000 to $100,000. Again, offered without reserve. Now this one is very cool because it is a plum crazy car. It is a 446 pack. It is a 4-speed. It does have black interior. Very cool car. I know more about this car because I did consign this. So this car is interesting because it presents incredibly well. It's a great car. There's a couple things that are not factory correct, but I'm actually okay with it. Two things. It has aftermarket AC, vintage air, I believe, but that just, it looks like a factory option, and I know I would enjoy that, so I'm fine with that. The other thing is it has an aftermarket exhaust, but again, it looks like the factory option, and it sounds even stronger, which I would be good with that. The one thing about this car, which hit the estimate by about 20 grand, is that the data plate comes with the car. The original data plate comes with the car, but it's somewhat corroded, and so they have a replacement tag, and both come with the car. And you can verify the plum crazy, the 4-speed, and all the important stuff. But just the fact that it had that corrosion on it, it did impact the estimate a little bit. But to me, this is a great car. I don't know why I just did not buy it as soon as I saw it and put it in my own garage. I would love to have this thing, and I'm planning on driving it once I get out there to Arizona. So be sure to check this one out. All right, we have two more to go. This is another one from the 1950s, except this is American Iron. 1958 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. Now the estimate's 125 to 175. These are absolutely stunning cars. I love these. Now this is the ultimate and most expensive American automobile of its era. So you have the fins, you have 4 doors, but the back 2 doors are suicide. One of only 304 produced for 1958. Sought after 1958 model with the more powerful tri-power V8 finished in the rare, attractive original color of Lake Placid blue. One of the rarest and most desirable mid-century American automobiles. I would agree with that. What's great about these cars is they're just so stunning, and they have a stainless steel roof. They have, as I mentioned before, the suicide doors. Hopefully we'll get a picture here in a second of those. Even the hubcaps were custom to the Broughams. So very expensive to restore these, especially if you have to redo any of the chrome. And they also come with like a little vanity kit. And the vanity kit alone, if you can find a set of it, a complete set, is about $20,000. So just a stunning car. I always call this as one of the pinnacle cars of the 50s, along with, you know, the Brits convertible. And to me, these kind of, how these go is kind of how the market's going. They kind of don't follow the trends of other cars of the 50s, maybe declining. This being a pinnacle Cadillac, I'm curious to see how this performs. So the estimate's 125 to 175. I'm going to put this low in the estimate. I'm going to say, let's see, without reserve, I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to say it's going to hammer for 125. It's going to hit the low estimate. Okay, and the last one we have for RM Sotheby sale, now as a reminder, stay tuned for Barrett Jackson as well as Bonhams, is this 2002 Ferrari 575M Maranello. Now the estimate on this one's 160 to 180. I've often said that this is a great entry point Ferrari. Yes, it's expensive, but it's front engine V12 manual car. One of Ferrari's greatest modern Grand Tours. Now this one's showing less than 17,000 miles at the time of cataloging. Factory correct Argento Nürburgring over black leather. Over $40,000 in service work, including gated manual conversion, in January 2024. So this is not a factory 575 manual car. It is a conversion. So if you're looking at this and you're serious about this, I don't see it offhand here, but I know it's in the documentation. Find out who did the manual conversion. There's some very well-known shops out there that handle that type of thing where it does impact value, but not to the extent as an unknown shop. Obviously, this is built for fun. Estimates 160 to 180. Let's see, because of the manual aspect of it, you know, I'm going to say people aren't really going to care about that, and I'm going to put it high in the estimate range. I'm going to say that this one exceeds the high estimate and hits 190. So the estimate's 160 to 180. I'm going to say this hammers for $190,000. All right, let's move over to Barrett Jackson. Now, I just picked a couple cars here, and there's a couple things I'm not crazy about the way they have this site set up. First off, it's amazing the number of cars that they get, especially when you consider they're all no reserve. So when I first looked at this, I was like, oh, okay, how many cars do they have? Well, you can put 48 cars per page, and there's 41 pages of cars. So that just tells you whatever 48 times 41 is, there's a lot of cars coming to Barrett Jackson. So I will walk around. I will do some live streaming, so be sure to check that out. But I just picked, I think, 4 cars here, and these are all being sold on Friday, so I won't actually see these cross the block. But again, I'll give it my best guess, which would be a little harder because there aren't estimates provided. And also, there's no mileage provided, which I thought was actually kind of weird considering you might have some online buyers or potential bidders. So the first one, this one really kind of annoys me. 1966 let me rephrase that. 1966 Mustang convertible. It's a K code, so it's a hypo, so it's extremely rare and valuable convertible, but they made it into a Shelby clone. It's like, why would you do that to a real hypo? Why not do that to a T code 6-cylinder car? Now, it's a nice job they did, and the reason I don't care for this is that they butchered they converted a true K code, and then they didn't get it right. They made it black with a tan top, and there were only 4, or maybe it's a dark blue. It's hard to tell in these pictures, but they only made 4 1966 Shelby GT350 convertibles for 1966. A springtime yellow one, a blue one, a red one, and a green one, ivy green. Now, if you go back to my YouTube channel, go to the live streaming tab, you'll see that I live streamed the Brothers collection up in Oregon a couple weeks ago. They actually own 2 of the 4 GT350 convertibles for 1966, the real ones. It just killed me that they butchered a true K code. Now, if I had to put a guess on this, true K code convertibles in really nice shape. This one does look like it's in very good shape. They don't have an interior shot, which again is weird. I would put this at, let's see, true K code convertibles are around $100,000 all in. Barrett Jackson's crowd can get kind of crazy on these types of things, so I'm going to say it's going to sell for $120,000. Now, you have to put in the fact that the true GT350 convertibles for 66 probably trade in the $800,000 to $1 million range, $1 million range. Just crazy. All right, the next one is a 2018 Mercedes-Benz AMG GTC. Now, this one's kind of a white with a red top. Again, I don't know the mileage, and this is a car that I truly believe is a next-gen collectible. I would love to buy one of these right now if I could afford it. They did have them in coupe version as well, I believe. Basically, this was the evolution of the SLR, the modern-day Gullwing and Roadster. Black interior with red piping. So these typically, depending on mileage, and I don't know mileage here, trade in the $80,000 to $100,000 range. So I'm going to put this one, let's just say at $95,000. Beautiful example. I would love to have this in my garage. All right, and the next 2 we're having are both Corvettes, and they're both ZR1s, but very different cars. So the first one's a C6 generation, and it's, I forgot the name of the color, but it's that dark maroon color, ZR1, and it has the chrome wheel package. I love this car. I think if you're going to get a ZR1, this is the generation to get one if you can. And I love the fact it's not the blue that was the launch edition color, that it is a very, very cool color that you don't typically see. This is tough again because it doesn't give mileage. The seats are wrapped in plastic as if it's 0 mileage. It is a manual car, so I'm going to guess this is extremely low mileage, possibly in the wrapper. So I'm going to put this a little higher. I'll probably put this, let's say, $85,000. They do have 54 pictures. This one's blank. So a lot of pictures online of this car. I'm going to call it at $85,000. Now stay tuned because I'll have 3 or 4 cars from Bonhams here in a moment. All right, the last one, as I said, is a 01. This is, again, another next generation collectible, the 2019 01. So this is the last front engine, naturally aspirated V8 Monster 01. Now the one to really have would be the manual. This is an automatic. This is the 8-speed automatic version. And these typically trade around $200,000. So I'm just going to call this one at $200,000. Again, I don't know the mileage. That might hurt my result. If I get it wrong, I'll say that it was because of the mileage. The manual's one you really want, but if you can't get the manual, get the automatic while you can. These things are absolutely stunners. They're monsters on the road, and beautiful, beautiful on top of that. And lastly, we'll cover 3 cars from the Bonhams auction that is also occurring during the Scottsdale, Arizona Car Week. The first one is this 1967 Lamborghini Miura P400. Estimates $2.2 to $2.8 million. Very cool car. Looks like a dark, kind of an orangish color. Let's see here. 5-speed manual. I think they all were. Very cool car. 3 owners since new. Single ownership for a long period of time. I picked this car because of the junkyard sale where those Rudy Klein Miura sold for big money even though they were wrecks. I'm curious to see if this affects this. I'm going to say it will. So the low estimate's 2.2. I'm going to call this one at 2.5. And then the next one we have a Mercedes-Benz SLR McLaren edition. I was not aware of this edition. Estimates $725 to $825. Now, as a reminder, most typical SLR McLaren sell for $400,000 or so. But this is one of 25 examples built to individual order by MSO. So this one is quite a bit different, apparently. McLaren edition body kit, titanium exhaust. Seems a big increase from the base, quote-unquote, SLR. You're talking about another $300,000 on top of it. So I'm going to call that this one is a miss. I'm going to say that this one, the bidding will probably close around $600 or $625. I don't see no reserve, so I'm assuming there's a reserve on this one. And then the last one, because again of the 1950s and 1960s Ferrari decline in the V12, front engine V12 cars, I have this 1956 Ferrari 250 Europa GT. Beautiful, beautiful car. Estimates 1.8 to 2.3. I'm going to say that if this does sell, it's going to sell in the 1.5 range, or it's going to be a no sale around 1.5. So we will have to see. All right, that is it for this week of the Collector Car Podcast. I got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I've got supercar market trends coming up soon. I have Megan from RM Sotheby, who will talk a little bit about the cataloging process for auctions, which I always find fascinating. Then I also will have a recurring guest that will be on our podcast talking about the cars coming for sale at the Miami sale, with all the Indianapolis Motor Speedway cars being sold by RM for the museum, including the incredible Streamliner Mercedes that's selling in Germany in February, as well as the 250 LM Ferrari that won Le Mans in 1965, I believe, that is selling during Retromobile also in February. So, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to all of you next week.